AI is something that's basically always framed in this conversation of like, this is bad, like, this is really bad, this is the end of the world. I agree with that framing, or at least I tend to agree with that framing, in like 99% of cases. One of the first Paint Talks ever, actually, is me doing just like a 40-minute ramble and having an existential crisis about how AI is going to ruin the world. I still stand by that. Like, I still think this is just a bad thing. I don't think, if I could snap my fingers right now and have all AI development cease everywhere and we just don't try this, I would do it. Like, I think this is a Pandora's box kind of situation where it's like, don't try that one. Like, we've seen the movies, it doesn't end well, you know? However, with that being said, the AI is here. Like, the AI is getting developed. Right now, we don't have full AI, we have only machine learning, but soon enough we'll be having AGI, and like from there, like, it only gets worse. I think we're only going downhill. We're not going to stop developing this anytime soon. As long as there's money to be made off of it, it's going to keep being developed forever and used for the most heinous, insidious things you can imagine. But since it's here, since it's being developed, I do think there's some merit in having a conversation about, like, there is a positive aspect to this. Specifically for artists. This is really a conversation just for artists. I know that we have a lot of artists that watch the show. I see your DMs and I respond to them. I don't know why I'm saying I see them, as if I'm getting a million DMs and can't respond. I respond to a lot of you guys who DM me who are artists. That's awesome. I think that's really cool. And I love that this show has fostered that community. And I think for us as artists, there is a good edge to this. Well, there's a really good and a really bad edge. Let's start with the bad, since we're already being so negative, right? For people in creative industries, myself included, I am somebody who, if you've been watching for a while, you might know graphic design is my day job. Like, things are looking grim there already, I think. You know, where you can replace an artist, you usually will in a business. Graphic design and marketing and all these things, their budgets are usually already pretty slim, so I don't think that's going to get any better. And I think that people who are on the floor, basic artists in companies, like, the future is grim. I think that's very scary. I think as far as people having like pursuing like a very normal creative career of like, I'm going to learn to be a illustrator, or I'm going to be an animator, maybe work lighting movie sets, things like that. I think a lot of these things will unfortunately be replaced. Even maybe like the more out there creative fields too, like acting. Like, I think there's a chance, you know, a lot of this hinges on what the consumer reaction to this is. Like, there's this one director, oh my god, he's fairly famous, I know his name, but the point is he's developing an AI studio right now, and the movies coming out of it, like, they look fairly realistic, you know, for what they are so far. But all of this depends on, like, how okay will people be watching an AI movie? How okay will I be watching it? You know what I mean? Like, I could totally see myself sitting in that theater and just genuinely not being able to get over the fact that I'm watching something AI right now. Like, that might genuinely just make it so I can't enjoy it at all. But, you know, going to the more traditional creative industries, they're like, it's not looking good. And that's scary. It's kind of a problem that I try not to think about, that in 5 years I could be on rocky financial terms, but there is a good edge to this. Let's get to the good part about AI for artists. And that is that I think there's like a serious chance that with AI making everything look so clean and good, and like basically being able to replicate the lowest common denominator. I don't want to say that in any sort of rude way, but like replicate the most basic style. I want you to imagine right now. Imagine just like the most basic thing, like a vector minimalist advertisement for Google or some shit. AI can totally do that already, and they probably already are, and for some company out there, right? Like, that already is happening, and that's going to continue to happen. But the good part of that is, like, I can only speak for the people I know as artists, but like, we don't love that, right? Like, I don't personally love going in and being like, oh man, I can't wait to make another man out of ovals today to sell a new subscription service that I know nobody needs. Like, that's not great, right? And I think with AI coming in and making things, basically democratizing everyone to be able to make the lowest common denominator of commercial art, I think it does open the door for people who are, and this is weird phrasing, I'm going to try to explain and make it make sense, more human in their art. And I'm thinking this is going to happen because of what we saw happen with the photo camera. I think it's just called the camera. I don't know why I said the photo camera. The camera is why I think this is going to happen. I want to say the early 1900s, if we're just going to give it a general time period, they made the camera, right? And it eliminated the need for a portrait artist. Like, that's why there's no paintings of people anymore. Even like if you think about the presidents, like now when the presidential portrait gets unveiled, it's a photo of them. It's not a painting anymore, because that made the need for portrait artists go completely defunct. And same with like landscape artists and all that, right? With that though, we got the new movement of art coming in of abstract, expressionism and all these different types of art that are less realistic, but open the door, because it's basically the very simple calculation for, I think, a lot of artists is like, okay, well that camera over there could already do a realistic shot better than I ever could. I can't paint something more realistic than what it looks like itself. I can't go into Plato's world of forms and take it down. So I'm going to just paint something that's distinctly painted, that's distinctly human, right? And I think we could see a similar effect happen with this new AI, right? I think that as it becomes easier to make anything, right, it's going to be a lot more important to have people who are making something. And speaking in very vague terms here, I think the short and sweet of it is basically like your own humanity within your art, the imperfections, the ideas, the brushstrokes that are slightly off. Those are going to be 10 times as valuable because AI could already do it the other way. You know what I mean? It's basically a conversation of like, AI is going to do all the stuff that humans can do but don't love doing. Like, AI can already make something that looks good and serviceable and perfect. So what are humans going to have to double down on as artists? This is crazy that I'm talking about like a human AI art war right now. But what we're going to have to double down on as artists is our own humanity in the art. There's going to be more value in the slightly imperfect, in the messy brushstroke, in the human expression that AI just physically cannot do. I mean, at least right now. Maybe I'm not quite open-minded enough in what AI is going to end up being able to do. I think there's a chance that it gets bigger, unfortunately. But as far as right now, as far as the conversation goes, the things within your art that make it you, the messy brushstrokes, the expression, those should be doubled down on, because those are going to become more valuable. Because in a world where everyone can make art now, right, by typing it in, and you don't need to commission anything anymore, you can get that digital art. It's terrible, to be honest, just as far as like the financial aspect of it goes. What's valuable? The other stuff, the stuff that is unique and that there's no way anyone can replicate. And I think in a simple conversation of like the economics of it, of like what is valued, usually stuff that's rare is valued, right? And the rarest thing is having somebody that can make something wholly unique when everyone can create. And that's why I encourage you to double down on what makes you you in your art. I think AI can't take away the artist's vision, and you can't really, you can teach the artist's vision. I don't know about that. But it's not like, there's a certain humanity that it takes to really conceive of a concept that moves somebody. And I think that messiness, that imperfectness is really where those concepts often come from. And that's why I encourage you to make your art you. Which, yeah, this is the painting. So I wanted to start, I kind of wouldn't say I mastered it, but I got like okay at doing the very, sort of repeated thing that I did of the face in the darkness going like, I don't know why I just did it. But I was like, okay, I've gotten better at this. Like, I've definitely learned how to blend and learned how to do some construction here. So I was like, let me start trying to do, one, skin tones. Did those for a while with some eyes, and they weren't great, so I kind of got scared away from them. And two, other parts of the body, which, like, I'm okay at anatomy. Like, I wouldn't say I could just paint a model in front of me that great. I could sketch fairly well, though, so I was like, let me try just some other anatomy, do an underwash, kind of try and not get stuck in the same thing, level things up here. Not bad. This is a torso. If you have been sitting here this whole time going, what is he painting? That means I failed. So let me know if you were confused this whole episode. But this was the attempt at doing that. I'm probably going to do, like, maybe a face, maybe try a figure soon, maybe an arm. Like, I'm going to work my way up to doing full things. But yeah, this is pretty cool. I do want to say, so I've had this conversation quite a bit of, like, how much can I do off camera in these? Because a big part of this series is the authenticity of I'm learning along with you guys. I think that me doing a portrait in multiple Paint&Talks kind of defeats the purpose. I might change my mind on that towards the end, especially if I'm like, no, I'm good enough to do something cool, but it just takes me a longer amount of time. I think that there is an argument for it. But for now, I do want it to be still in one shot. With that, though, I think it's okay. I think it's fair game to do an underwash and to sketch something beforehand, because those are skills I kind of already have. I mean, everyone has the skill to do an underwash. You just gotta, like, rub the paint on there. And the same thing as far as the sketching is, like, that's not something I'm really gonna be learning on camera, because I already did that my whole life. So, not learning on camera, but I already sketched my whole life. So, I figured those two things are fair game, and then I can come here and really focus on the painting aspect of it, and hopefully get better at that. So not bad. Motion in the right direction, and not, it's leveling up. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get better at this. So hopefully you guys think this is interesting. Not the best to look at, but a necessary practice thing, I guess, right? Go check it out over on the Instagram. See that exact same thing, just typed up in a way that is pretty hard to read. So yeah, and until tomorrow, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk, episode 73. Here every morning, painting and talking with you all.